today we're going to be talking about pots. Hello and welcome to House.PlantsUK. This is a question that's on everyone's lips when they buy a lovely new plant and they buy a pot to go with it and they think, right, here we go, I've got my plant, I've got my pot, we're at home, let's go. They immediately take it out of the nursery pot and they'll plant it into a pot without a drainage hole. They plant it in the pot and then it dies, and there's many reasons for that, and it's not just down to the plant, it's a lot down to the pot. This is one of the things that you could eliminate from plants dying on you. Now, this isn't to say that those kind of pots are wrong, there's just all different types of pots that you can go for, and we're going to talk through them all today just so you're clear and just so you can make proper decisions about what plant should go in what pot. This is what usually happens. You go to a garden centre, you'll get a plant like this that will arrive like this. This is my cordyline kiwi, and then you'll buy a pot that looks like this and you think, oh, that looks really cute, that will look really good in there, fantastic. Then you get home and you think, right, let's pot up. One, your first mistake, just leave the plant for a couple of weeks. It's just been all over, it's been in the car, it might have been delivered to your house from an online shop. You just need to leave it for a couple of weeks to acclimatise to its environment. Otherwise, you're going to seriously stress it out. And this is a really big issue that people always do. I myself always used to do this, used to plant it as soon as I got home. Don't do it. This is another issue. Issue 2, what people do is so they get their pot, no drainage hole. Not a problem unless you take your plant out of this nursery pot, you fill it all with soil, and then you plant that straight in. When you water it once a week, or however you think that you need to water it, this, for example, doesn't need a lot of water. So if I planted it in here without a drainage hole, all the water would sit to about there and you would never know. So your plant is in there, imagine without the plastic, you've potted it up in there, you've done your watering, and then all the water sits there because this plant doesn't need a lot of water. It sits there until next week. Then next week comes along, my finger is where the line of water is. You go, right, let's water it again because it's dry on top, let's water it again. You water it again, the water hasn't gone down from the week before, so you've gone up to there. And then this is when the roots start to rot. So they'll start to go mushy, they'll start to disintegrate and then ruin the rest of the plant. Then you start to get yellowing leaves, you get funny edges, brown bits, and you're like, what's going on with my plant? I'm watering it all the time, it's got really good light, and actually it's because you planted it in a pot without a drainage hole. So the way to get around this is you keep your pot that you've bought and you spent a lot of money on, goes with the house decor, we all get that. You keep that pot. You keep this in the nursery pot. Just keep it in a pot that is plastic and has drainage holes. Therefore, you can pop it in there. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. Water it. And then I would water it in the morning, and then in the afternoon, I would lift it up, see if it's got water in. If it does have a whole load of water, so it doesn't need any more, I'd literally tip that out. Tip all the water out, completely empty, you're okay, and then we'll pop that back in and you're good to go for next week. So it's had its drink for the morning, it stood in a little bit of water for a few hours, and then I've removed the water and it popped it back in its pot, then I'll pop it back on the shelf. That's how you can get around using these pots. Now, I know that sounds like a faff rather than just leaving it and watering it once a week, but that will get rid of so many issues that people have. And it's one of the questions that I answer the most on Instagram. Oh, what do I do? All the leaves are going a funny colour and all this, and it's all because people have planted straight into a pot without a drainage hole. Sorry, that was a big one, wasn't it? So if you don't want to be doing that faffy about take it out, oh, what do I do? This is what you can do. This is my Calathea. Now, I'll do a whole videos on Calatheas because these guys, they're not the easiest. I've got my Calathea in a terracotta pot. I've got it in a terracotta pot because terracotta pulls away the water away from the plant. Now this plant, if it's sat in water for too long, or if it's been watered a little bit too much, the leaves will literally be like, I'm not having it. So you're like, oh gosh, yeah, okay. You can kill them so easily. And these guys die a lot because of root rot, because of those reasons. Because a lot of people put them in these and then they fill up with water, root rot, die. Sorry to be so brash about it. This is what I've done with my Calathea. Terracotta pot. Sorry. Drainage hole. Oh look, it's got a little root coming out. Oh, it's happy. Then I've got a pot underneath for the water to go in. Now this, oh, don't put that down because of the root. Underneath, a little dish with pebbles in it. Now this is what I do for my Calatheas. You can just have a dish that collects the water, and then when you see that the plant has had enough water for the day and it's sat in that water for a while, again you can just get that dish, chuck away the water, pop it back, fine. But with Calatheas, oh gosh, look at that stone in there. Weird. With Calatheas, I have pebbles in the bottom because the water sits in the pebbles, and then this creates a humid environment around the Calathea. Calatheas like to be very humid. This is how you stop them from getting crispy edges, and it keeps them nice and green the whole way through. If you don't have a humidifier on in the home, or your home isn't suitable for a humidifier because it can cause damp, this is one of your best bets. You have a dish with the pebbles sit in water, and then this creates like a bubble of humidity around your plant, and it's draining. So this is the perfect thing for Calatheas, in my opinion. Also, terracotta takes away any excess water from the plant. So this is option 2. Heavy. So another option, this is to do with how you want it to look rather than it's beneficial for the plant. I've got this Amedrium blue silver. This is actually planted in pond substrate. So I've got this in pond because this is what it prefers. But I love a terracotta pot. So although this is the perfect terracotta pot, it's got a drainage hole, it's ready to go. I actually bought it for all plants like this, but they like to be in this. So there's my little thing, that goes in there, and I actually just pop that in there so it looks like it's in a terracotta pot, but actually it's doing its own thing. It's in the pond. Here I water it from the top. You can also water it from the bottom. I water this particular plant from the top, and then the water again just runs down into that dish. I leave it for the day and then I chuck out the water because I don't want it to be sat in water. But this one not too bad sat in water compared to this one, because the terracotta will pull away the water that's sat. It won't rot the roots as bad as ceramic will. There are your different options. 1, 2, and the Calathea that I showed you earlier. And I know it's not what you wanted to hear. If you have a lovely pot at home, which loads of people send me their beautiful pots, just don't plant the pot. Don't plant the plant. Just don't plant the plant. Oh my word. Do not plant the plant in a ceramic pot that does not have a drainage hole. It's hard to say. This is another one I've got. Cute little plant. Actually, it's still in its nursery pot, which is coconut husk, which I'm really impressed with. Better than the plastic. That's planted in that. I actually don't know if that would be any good for it. I might need to put it into a plastic pot. I still need to learn about this plant because plastic pots keep the moisture held in a bit more. So some plants really love that. And other plants really don't love that. That's research you need to do on different plants. The best thing I would advise is when you get a plant home from the garden centre, research the hell out of it. All different websites you can go on. You can go on Instagram, research what your plant likes, figure it out, leave it for a few weeks when you get home, and then put it in its best thing. So I might even transfer that into a plastic pot and then pop it into my nice pot. Not sure yet, or I might leave it in this. So yeah, that goes in that. Again, kept my nice pot, but it's not gonna drown because I'm going to give it a water, and a few hours later, oh gosh, there's a little water in there, tip that out, pop it back in, done. Leave it for the following week or when it next needs watering. I hope I haven't confused you and talked around the houses a bit too much, but basically having a drainage hole really is your best option if you don't want to be faffing about with pots. Just have a drainage hole, water it, leave it, done. You don't have to worry about it because it will all come out on the plate underneath. Or if you like your plant pots that have like pretty little designs, then you now know what to do. So here's something I haven't mentioned. When a lot of people get home from the garden centre and they want to pot their plant up immediately, this is where people go wrong, and this is where I went wrong for months. This is my Philodendron Beauty. I absolutely love it. So when I first got this, it was in a pot that I would say was about that big. Five inches? Maybe like a regular 12cm pot. I'm not sure. I had it in that and I thought, I've got the perfect pot to put this in. And it's like a really old vintagey terracotta pot with a drainage hole, did the pebbles, did the lot. And I was like, oh, I love this, it's got to go in it. So, planted it in this. When I planted it in this, it looked like without these guys, so it looked like that. I was like, yes, love it, it will love it, it will look big and bushy and da 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 da, you know, like how we all get. We're like, oh, it look amazing, it'll get really big if it's in a big pot. Wrong. It will not get really big if it's in a big pot. Since I planted it in this pot, look how small the leaves are. The leaves are coming in absolutely tiny. I've had this leaf for ages and that's how big it's got. And I think it's because I planted it in a pot that's too big. I wonder if I'm kind of like, I'm gonna have ruined a section of it and then maybe it will get bigger over time when the roots have spread out. But ultimately I have messed this up a bit because look how much room that has. It doesn't need to have that much space in it. We're also quick to put our plant in a big pot because it looks cool, but it really ruins the growth because look how small those leaves are. Like I've had that little one for ages, I'd say probably about 6 months. And look how big the leaves were when it was in a tiny pot. So guys, don't get them in these big pots because it really ruins the growth and it won't be a big bushy plant like we think. Because we think, get a big pot, roots will really spread out, plant will get bigger. It's not the case. Plants like to be snug. You need to repot when you're squeezing the plastic and it's rock solid because the roots are wrapped and wrapped and wrapped. That's when you need to repot. You do not need to repot if it's not like that. So I've done this to a few of my plants. I've got leaves that are now this big because of it. That's the mistake and the burden I have to bear. So that is warning for you guys. Hope you've enjoyed that. Again, let me know if you do anything differently. I'd love to learn from you guys. Give me a comment below and then we can all have a chat about what you do. And I'll see you next time for the next video. Bye guys.